Your dog circles once, twice, maybe 3 times before finally curling into a tight ball and tucking their nose under their tail. You've seen this hundreds of times. Most people assume it's about comfort, finding the right spot, or some leftover instinct from wild ancestors flattening grass. Both of these explanations touch on something real. Neither captures what's actually happening in your dog's brain and body when they fold themselves into that specific shape. The research on this behavior reveals a complex system of thermoregulation, vulnerability management, and neurological patterning that has almost nothing to do with comfort as we understand it. Number 1. Temperature control through surface area reduction. In 2019, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine, Vienna, studied 62 dogs across different ambient temperatures and discovered something precise. Dogs consistently curled tighter as room temperature dropped, reducing their exposed surface area by up to 47% compared to their stretched-out position. Dr. Ludwig Huber's team used thermal imaging to track heat retention and found that the curled position, specifically with the nose tucked under the tail, creates a closed system where the dog's exhaled breath warms the air they're about to inhale. This isn't metaphorical. The temperature differential they measured was 3.2 degrees Celsius between ambient air and the microclimate a curled dog creates around their face and core. A companion study at Stockholm University in 2021 examined 128 dogs and found that even in consistently warm environments, 73% still curled when sleeping, suggesting the behavior persists beyond immediate thermal need. What's happening is your dog is constructing a personal climate zone. Their body is solving a heat retention problem their wolf ancestors faced when sleeping in snow or cold dens. But the behavior has become so deeply encoded that it triggers even when the thermostat is set to 72 degrees. Number 2. Protecting vital organs during unconsciousness. There's a second mechanism layered underneath the temperature control, and it involves vulnerability. Researchers at Duke University's Canine Cognition Center published findings in 2018 showing that dogs in multi-dog households curled significantly tighter than solo dogs, and dogs sleeping in open spaces curled tighter than dogs sleeping in enclosed crates or corners. They tested 89 dogs with motion sensor sleep tracking and found that the degree of curl correlated directly with perceived exposure, not actual threat level. Dr. Brian Hare's team discovered that the curled position specifically protects the abdomen, throat, and face while keeping the dog's back and muscled haunches exposed. From a predator defense standpoint, this makes evolutionary sense. A wolf's most vulnerable organs are shielded, while their strongest defensive structures face outward. What this means for your dog is that even in your living room, their nervous system is running an ancient calculation about exposure and safety. The tighter the curl, the more their brain has assessed the environment as requiring defensive sleeping posture. Dogs who sleep sprawled out, legs extended, belly up, have made the opposite calculation. They've determined the environment is safe enough to abandon protective positioning entirely. Number 3. The pre-sleep circling ritual and spatial mapping. The circling that happens before the curl deserves its own examination because it's doing something different than the position itself. In 2017, researchers at the University of British Columbia analyzed 437 pre-sleep sequences across 53 dogs and found that 93% circled at least once before lying down, with an average of 2.7 rotations. Dr. Stanley Coren's research showed that dogs circled more frequently on unfamiliar surfaces and less frequently in their established sleeping spots, suggesting the behavior serves a spatial assessment function. But here's where it gets interesting. A 2020 study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science used accelerometers to track exact movement patterns and discovered that dogs weren't just circling randomly. They were consistently orienting themselves along a north-south axis, with 68% of final resting positions aligning within 15 degrees of magnetic north or south. The researchers proposed that dogs might be using the Earth's magnetic field to orient their bodies, though the mechanism remains unclear. What your dog is doing when they circle is gathering sensory information about the space, checking for obstacles or discomfort, and potentially aligning themselves with geomagnetic fields in ways we're only beginning to understand. The circle isn't preparation for the curl. It's a separate diagnostic behavior that happens to precede it. Number 4. Breed variations and genetic encoding. Not all dogs curl the same way, and the differences are genetically predictable. A comprehensive 2022 study by researchers at the University of Helsinki examined sleep positions across 184 dog breeds and found that breeds developed for cold climates, Siberian Huskies, Alaskan Malamutes, Samoyeds, curled an average of 34% tighter than breeds developed for temperate or warm climates. They measured this using a curl ratio, the distance from nose to tail tip compared to the dog's stretched body length. Northern breeds averaged a curl ratio of 0.41, meaning their curled form was less than half their extended length. Greyhounds and other sight hounds averaged 0.73, maintaining much more extension even while technically curled. The researchers identified specific genetic markers associated with this behavioral difference, the same genes that regulate coat density and subcutaneous fat distribution. Dogs bred to withstand negative temperatures have genetic instructions not just for physical insulation, but for heat-conserving postural behaviors. Your husky isn't choosing to curl tight. Their DNA is executing temperature management protocols refined over thousands of years of Arctic selection pressure. Meanwhile, your whippet sprawls because their genetic optimization was for speed and heat dissipation, not conservation. Number 5. What happens when dogs can't curl? The clearest evidence for why dogs curl comes from studying what happens when they physically cannot. Researchers at Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine tracked 47 dogs with arthritis, severe enough to limit their range of motion, and found that dogs who could no longer achieve their typical curl position showed measurably disrupted sleep. Using polysomnography, the same technology used in human sleep studies, they discovered these dogs spent 28% less time in REM sleep and woke an average of 4.3 times more per night than healthy dogs. The inability to curl wasn't just uncomfortable, it was physiologically disrupting their sleep architecture. A related study in 2021 examined 33 dogs recovering from abdominal surgery who were temporarily unable to curl due to pain and found their cortisol levels remained elevated throughout the night, suggesting the uncurled position created a persistent, low-level stress response. What this reveals is that the curled position isn't optional or cosmetic for dogs. It's integrated into their neurological sleep initiation sequence. A dog who cannot curl is a dog whose body cannot fully access the physiological state of deep rest. The next time your dog circles and curls into that tight ball, here's what's actually happening. Their brain is executing a thermoregulation protocol that reduces heat loss by nearly half. Their body is assuming a defensive posture that protects vital organs even though no threat exists. They're potentially aligning themselves with the Earth's magnetic field through mechanisms we don't fully understand. And their genetic inheritance from cold climate or warm climate ancestors is determining exactly how tight that curl becomes. None of this is conscious decision-making. It's layered biological programming, temperature management stacked on top of vulnerability reduction, stacked on top of genetic breed-specific optimization. If your dog sleeps sprawled and loose, that's them telling you their nervous system has assessed the environment as completely safe. If they curl tight every night in the same warm house, that's genetic instruction overriding environmental reality. Both are normal. Both are your dog's body doing exactly what millions of years of evolution designed it to do. If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe for more research-backed explanations of dog behavior, and drop a comment telling me how your dog sleeps, because the variation is genuinely fascinating, and we're still learning what it all means.